First of all, I want to say thank you very much. This was a very powerful experience for me. When we were working in Ohio, Northwest Ohio is very rural, and so there are about 100 labor camps. And the people there mostly come from Mexico, but from different states. And so sometimes we would spend time with them, and one day we walked into a house and they had a video on, and it was very intriguing, con pirotecnicos, with Our Lady of Guadalupe or La Virgen de Zapopan in fireworks, just like you saw. And people were dancing, and the things that we saw, like the rodeos and all of the festivities, and people, everyone was crowded into one house, and they were just spellbound, and it gave us a sense of how hard it was for these mostly men to be here without their families. And as we got interested, they would say to us, well, we want you to visit our families. And in the beginning, sometimes it was when they went back and forth. But then as time went on, they couldn't, because it was too dangerous to cross the border. And so we would be like taking their pictures and taking them down and taking pictures down there and bringing them back. And it was an amazing experience. We went there to learn. I use the word in service, but we went there to learn from the people, you know, what life was like. And that last song was so powerful because whenever I would be in Mexico, I would feel like this is really living. And even though it was hard for the people we were with, and a lot of times the mothers in front of the kids would say all the good things about what was going on, and then when we would talk to them after the kids went out to play, they would say how hard it was because some of the older ones were giving them a hard time, or they weren't doing well in school, or they were kind of blaming mom because dad was gone, and things like that that were really, really tough. And the men didn't want to be gone in the first place. Or if the mother was gone and we were with the grandparents, it was really, really difficult because it was hard for them. And when I came in early, I saw the scene in the classroom, and I had one that was a little bit different. We were in Paseo El Alto, Guanajuato, Mexico, and I was with husband and his wife. He worked in the nursery, so he had a visa, and he could come home for December and January. And his wife was a teacher, so one day we went out to her school. It was in a rancho. It was very small. It was junior high and high school. And it was interesting that day. We didn't plan it, but in those schools where the teachers have to teach all the subjects, they give a 10-minute feed from Mexico over the television, the satellite, to start the lesson. And this one happened to be on immigration. And it was amazing to see it. And the film stopped, and she said to the young people, so people going to the north, that solves all the problems, doesn't it? And spontaneously, with one voice, they all said no. Because they had experienced, in this particular rancho, there were almost no husbands and no fathers. And they had learned to live that way, but it was very, very difficult. And then when we went to Chiapas, 6-hour truck ride north of Tuxtla, when we finally arrived, and it was the rainy season, we were in the back of a truck. We thought we were never going to get out of there alive, but people do this all the time. It just taught us a few things about life. And when we got there, they called in the wife of the man that we knew, and she wasn't around, and we thought, whoops, because we would walk into these situations and walk into a village and just ask where the person was, because the relatives had called ahead to see if it was okay, and then we would maybe call once to let them know our voice and that we were really coming. A lot of times they didn't believe we would come. Well, when we were going to Chiapas, it was difficult to contact by phone, and in this particular village, it was on the mountains, at the side of a mountain, the wind would knock the phone lines out all the time, so we just kind of went blindly. Anyway, so finally we found somebody, and they took us to her, and she was those houses. She was building a house, just like the lady in the film. And a lot of times we would be in ranchitos, and half the houses would be beautiful, but they would be empty because the rest of the family had followed north. And she looked at us and she said, I don't believe this. She said, people go to Tuxtla, but they never come here in Buena Vista. And it was like, we were immediate friends with the family. Everybody came down. We wanted to get up the mountains to phone her husband before it got dark. But everyone kept coming to the house and talking to us and bringing us bags of eggs and a live chicken and things. And so when we finally went up the mountain, it was like the little girl was 3 years old. She was tripping up the mountain, and we were afraid we were going to fall off the side. But we were so welcomed. I could go on, but I need to share the mic.
We'll keep going, and then we'd like to get to also the end. So this is Rachel and Irby. And si quieren podemos hacer un programa bilingüe, como quieran. Es una pareja, se acaban de casar hace un mes, ¿verdad? Los conocimos en los 30 días de casados. Okay. Y pues yo quería que ellos platicaran un poco de su relación a México-Estados Unidos, porque tienen mucho que decir sobre este tema. Rachel, si quieres empezar.
Okay. Well, why don't I just preface this by saying I'm not an expert on any of these issues, but I am a high school teacher who's on summer vacation, and I happened to see the movie on Friday and was really moved by it. We both were. And I think the reason why we were both moved by it is because Edie in particular has left Mexico 3 times and gone back twice and been received by his family. And I mean, I'm sure he can talk about a lot of the issues you saw in the film better than I can. But